Hi, I'm Ted. Welcome to The Plays the Thing. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite reason for teaching Shakespeare. And I'll give you a hint, it has nothing to do with Common Core, has nothing to do with the sophistication of the language or the human themes. It has to do with the story of one of my favorite students. So when I first started teaching, I was using a lot of performance strategies for teaching Shakespeare. I just thought that was the best way to go, and I'll do a post on that probably sometime in the future. But kids are up on their feet. We're using performance strategies, theater techniques in the classroom, and that seemed to go over pretty well. So that sort of spawned off on a whole Shakespeare elective, where that's kind of all we did. We did a cycle through Shakespeare plays. Kids picked what they wanted to study, and we would do we would study that play for several weeks and then move on to the next play, and each assessment was some kind of performance, and that went well. I had a couple students who decided to go to a summer intensive program, and had a great time, came back in the fall and said, let's go to the drama club, and they went to that, and they came back and said, well, that was pretty cool, but it wasn't Shakespeare. What if we had an entire Shakespeare club, that, or drama club that just did Shakespeare? And my inside voice said, well, it'll be great, it'll be three of us. My outside voice said, yeah, great, let's give it a shot, see what happens. And we wound up with 25 kids, and it turned to be an incredible group. And we would meet in the fall. We would work some basic skills. We would work ensemble building. Everybody would learn a monologue, including me. Usually, like just before Thanksgiving, we'd have a dinner night, and the parents would all come in, and we would have dinner and perform the monologues for everybody. And then in the winter we would do like a 15-minute farce. We'd take a Shakespeare play and cut it down and perform it that way. Always a lot of fun, high energy. And then in the spring we would do a full-length play. After the full-length play, early in the summer, just as schools got out, we would head to Stratford and do a workshop with the RSC. And if you ever get a chance to do that, by all means do it. It was an incredible experience. We'd workshop with the actors during the day, and we'd go to the theater at night. So it was ideal. So this story involves Mary Ann, who came to us her sophomore year. And she had taken my Shakespeare class, and I could tell that decoding text was a significant challenge for her. She just read really slowly, and it wouldn't surprise me. She was dyslexic, very shy, reserved at first. But she had a beautiful singing voice. In our sophomore year in the club, we decided to do Much Ado, and that was the year that the Gap commercials were running, the swing dancing khaki commercials, and so swing dancing was big. And post-World War II, Much Ado being a post-World War II play, we thought it'd be great. Let's set it sort of the swing era, and it was great. We had a live swing band on stage. We had a local composer that wrote, hey, hey, nani, nani, and at the end of the play, there was this beautiful, Goddess of the Night blues song. That went great, and we put all the villains in trench coats, and they hung out under the street light off stage. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Because of Mary Ann's singing voice, we cast her as Balthazar, and she did the songs, and it was beautiful. But you could still tell that she was just shy and reserved. It kind of had this restrained quality to her performance, although it was very nice. Her junior year, she played Bardolph. We did Merry Wives of Windsor. And she was great, again, still kind of a small part, but the kids told me afterwards she never broke character. If she was off stage or backstage, she was still Bardolph through the whole thing, and she worked great. She worked really hard, and it was a great performance, and it was wonderful. Her senior year, we decided to do Henry IV, Part 1. And I'm going through the audition sheets and trying to get some initial thoughts of casting before auditions, and I run across hers, and she said, I want to play Falstaff. I thought, oh boy, there's a lot of lines in that part. And so I pulled her in the office and I said, I see you want to play Falstaff. She said, oh yeah, that would be great. And I said, well, it's a lot of lines, a lot of memorization. I know, I promise I can do it. And I'm thinking, well, she says a lot of jokes about size, and you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do it. Okay, all right, let's do it. And so thus began, I would say, one of the most powerful educational experiences of my life, either as a student or a teacher. And so the way I like to structure rehearsals is say on Monday afternoon we'd rehearse, act one, scene one, or whatever, that one scene, and only the actors that needed to be there for that scene would show up for those rehearsals. And so we do a scene on Monday and a scene on Tuesday, and then maybe for shorter scenes we do a couple scenes on Wednesday. But on Thursday or Friday, the whole cast would come in. We do ensemble building, and then we would run those scenes that we'd rehearsed, and I would want the actors off book for those particular scenes that we'd already rehearsed. So it's usually only one scene by that point. But then we would improv the whole rest of the play. It's like, all right, make it up, tell me the story. And it's a great activity, and I'll put a link in the description for another video, and I explain how to do that. It's great in the classroom, for different things. But so we'd improv it, and so that's what we did. Marianne was such a slow decoder, and we never talked about it, but I'm sure she thought, it's very difficult for me to cold read and rehearse at the same time. So she showed up to those initial rehearsals with the lines almost memorized. It was incredible. And because she was free, without a book in her face, she was able to discover all these amazing sight gags and comic elements that went far beyond my creative abilities. It was just incredible. And so, and then when we get to the improv scenes, it was just hilarious. It was so much fun to kind of see what she would come up with through the improvs. And so the rehearsal went great. It's such a great play. It's got the drama of the rebels, and it's got a really touching scene with Hotspur and his wife. And we'd written a great song in Welsh that we could sing for that, do for that one part. And of course we had stage combat with stage quality broadswords clanging and banging. So it was fantastic. We marketed it, the word got out that it was a pretty good play, and so we get to the last show, on a Saturday night, packed house. It is full. And so Marianne decides that her character, that Falstaff, would always have a pint of ale in his hand, and it didn't matter whether it could be in the tavern, but in the road or even in battle. And so that was sort of the gimmick that she had, or one of her character traits. And there's a scene where, just at the battle where Hal has to fight Hotspur, and Douglas comes on, and Falstaff's in the scene, and so does this thing where Douglas comes out and Falstaff feigns death so he doesn't have to fight Douglas the terrible Scot. So fakes this heart attack, and then very carefully sets the ale down lest she spill a drop, and then collapses on the floor. And meanwhile Hal is victorious and kills Hotspur. And then, everybody leaves, and Hotspur wakes up, and, after the discretion is a better part of valor speech, sees Hotspur's body there on the ground and is scared, like, oh, geez, what if he was counterfeiting death too? And I better stab him to be sure. And again, a great comic thing that she discovered. Therefore, sir, with this wound in your thigh, come along with me. And so, I wish I could claim credit for casting this, but I didn't really have the forethought. But the actor playing Hotspur was like 112-pound champion wrestler, and so we're able to get it so that she can actually pick him up on her shoulders, because that's the stage direction, and puts him on his shoulder. And at the same time, can't forget the pint, so picks that up as well, and walks across the stage. And of course, that's when Hal comes back. Excuse me, with with other members of the cast, and Falstaff's, I killed him. He got back up, and I fought him, and they can't believe it. And so the next stage direction says that throws the body to the ground. And again, the athleticism of the actor playing Hotspur shows up there, because we get it so that Marianne can heave Hotspur off her shoulder, and he can use these stage combat fall techniques so that he can make it look really authentic without hurting himself and still be safe. So so it's a packed house, and we get to that part, and I'm not a jack, and she heaves him off her shoulder, this big crash, hardwood floor and clamor, and the whole audience is collective gasp, and he I could have sworn I heard it come, oh my God, and she just kind of looks at the audience, shrugs her shoulder like, he's dead. And there was a standing ovation, just laughter erupting, and I'm in the audience, and at this point I can't decide whether I'm going to laugh or cry, because it's hilariously funny. But to see this young woman who has been self-conscious and reserved and has really struggled with text, and all of a sudden emerge as one of the heroes of this play, and get this applause was just incredibly moving. And I'm thinking that's exactly what Hotspur would say in that situation. And just I'm thinking at that exact moment, this is why I teach Shakespeare. The language is great, and the themes are great, and the cultural references are great, and all that's wonderful. But doing something challenging, and especially in performance, and seeing students develop into people, and not just a result of standards, and develop that confidence, is incredibly rewarding, and probably more important than any other learning that we possibly can have. And so I never forgot that moment, and I always think about when we're getting excited about Shakespeare and kids are asking, why are you so excited? And I should just start telling the story, and try to keep myself from tearing up again, because it was such a powerful moment. So I hope that story was enjoyable. I hope that it provides some inspiration for anybody that sometimes struggles with Shakespeare. There's certainly a way you can make it fun, make it interesting, and make it engaging. Sorry for my, this is Ola. And she's being a little bit distracting, but I'm trying to shoot video and take care of the puppy at the same time. So please check out any of the other videos. I'm going to show, as we go through week to week, the different techniques that I use to try to engage in the heart, in the mind, and as well as the voice. So please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. I certainly appreciate your time. And until next time, I hope you're putting the play back in Shakespeare.